My name is Nameto Morage. The problem that brought me here are tapeworms in my stomach. This is the picture of the tapeworm. I can still feel them. Each time I go to the toilet, I feel the tapeworms.
Do you mean that each time you go to the toilet, you release worms?
Yes, sir.
And the picture we are seeing there, what is that?
These are the tapeworms that always come from my stomach through
So what are the doctors saying is the solution?
They say there's no treatment. They're not sure if the treatment is there in Botswana.
So are you here believing Jesus to set you free?
I believe Jesus will set me free.
This is a case of tapeworms. Each time she defecates, she experiences worms coming out of her body. And look at the reaction now as the man of God approaches her. Before a touch, see how she's reacting. The spirit behind the tapeworms manifesting through her body. Look at what is happening. This prayer is underway. Jesus Christ is still on the scene, touching and changing lives. Down she goes. Down her predicament goes. The healer is Jesus Christ. Never a sickness he cannot heal, never a burden.
In Jesus Christ's name, you are free.
Freedom has come in the life of our sister.
Thank you, Jesus.
The grace of God is sufficient for you and me, church. My name is Nameto Morage. I'm from Serowe, currently residing in Tonota. And I'm here to share a testimony about healing. I came to the Gospel of God's Grace Ministries on the 6th of October last year, 2024, suffering from tapeworms for more than 10 years. If I may take you back, people of God, it all started in 2012 when I was 6 years old and doing standard 1. One of the days I went to the toilet, and after passing the stools, I found that there were worms together with the stools I released. So, dismayed by what I saw, I went on to tell my mother, who responded with a low voice and unworried tone. She told me that it's a situation she also encountered when she was a child, that this is nothing and it will fade away with time. So, since I was small, I was comforted by my mother's words, and I didn't worry much, so I knew that it's nothing serious. But in my case, it was different, people of God. So I continued living like that, releasing stools with worms. It even got worse because these worms, they came out on their own now, without me going to the toilet. They always come out when I'm sleeping, when I'm working, or just sitting down doing nothing. They came out anytime, one after the other. And each and every day, they increased in size and in number. It got to a point that one day, I went to the toilet, and I realized that a worm was coming out. But this time around, it wasn't small worms that used to come out. This time, it was a very giant and long and so thick. So I pushed it out the way I used to do. But I got exhausted, and I had to use my bare hands, people of God, to pull it out from my bottom. I pulled it out, and eventually I cut it off because I was now exhausted of sitting in one position. I went on to tell my mother to come and show her what came out of me. That time, now she was a bit moved. So she took me to the clinic. Upon arriving, I was given a bottle of medication and some pills. And I was instructed to come back to the clinic to take the medication if the one I get finished. So I took the medication as prescribed. But people of God, this medication couldn't help me in any way. Every time I had to go to the clinic to get it with my mother, but it wasn't really helping me, not even to stop for a day or a week. I was still experiencing the same situation. People of God, this situation really caused me a lot. It affected me badly. I was embarrassed and ashamed of myself because every time this tapeworm will fall on their own without even me noticing. So I remember one day we were in class and I was in my group. We were assigned to do group work. So I suddenly stood up from my chair and I found that my mates were laughing at me. When I looked back, I saw that I left a worm on my chair. So they started laughing at me and looked at me in a bad light, in a bad way. The fact that they knew what was happening about with me, if maybe it's a break time or the school has come to an end, I have to wait for everyone in class to go out before I can stand up. And you know that when the teacher is teaching, he can point at you to come and do something at the board or solve a math problem. So for me, it was difficult. It was a challenge for me to stand up because I wasn't sure if I left the worm or the worm will fall. Hakele ko pele, jalo. So that's how it affected me. I will feel them coming out, and if I stayed for long, because the teacher wouldn't let me to go out frequently, so I will stay in class feeling the worm moving because they were alive. And if I stay for long feeling them, they will penetrate into my private part, and that it was very painful, people of God. I couldn't focus fully in class because I have to go out much more frequently to remove those worms. So I was not performing the way I could. I know my abilities. I was performing, I was getting C's. That's what I was getting because I couldn't focus. I cannot stay fully in class. I have to go out, and obviously I'm missing some important information that I was presenting to my classmates. People of God, I wasn't feeling any pain when they are coming out. They were just irritating because they are alive. They'll be moving like that, irritating me, and I'll only feel the pain if I stay for long. Maybe let's say I'm in a class and I stay with that worm moving in my bottom and it penetrates in my private parts. That's when I will feel the pain. They will just come out like that, and I will feel the worms coming out from me. They'll be crawling and prickling sometimes. And even when I'm walking, I'll just maybe hear someone, "Excuse me, my sister, there's something on your leg." And I look back, I see that it's a worm. So it was really causing me embarrassment. I didn't have confidence at all. It also affected me in the sense that I experienced an unusual hunger. The way they explained it at the hospital was that these worms were feeding in the food that I was eating. So I will eat, and after 1 hour or 2 hours, I will want to eat again. It got to a point that even in the middle of the night, I have to wake up and eat because of these worms.
You mentioned that you went to the hospitals, to the clinics in search of solution. As they were giving you this medication, were they bringing any help to your problem?
This medication that was getting from the hospital wasn't helping me at all. Nothing. And my mother obviously got exhausted of going to the hospital for nothing. So she opted for anal administration in Setswana go peita. So I went through that. I went through anal administration. And during the anal administration, a lot of worms came out, filling about a half 20-liter bucket. So seeing that, people of God, we believed that the situation will be better. But it didn't go as we thought. The worms continued to come out of me. And I accepted myself that is how I am. I will always be ready to rush to the toilet every time because there was nothing I could do.
Eventually, we saw you come into the presence of God. We saw you pleading your case before the servant of God. Take us through that experience.
People of God, I'm now studying in Tonota College of Education. So me going there, I went there still with this situation. So I was in a new environment and I had a roommate who became suspicious because I was always going to the toilet time and again, and the excessive use of toilet paper. So she became suspicious and I was hiding it from her. So one of the days I went to the clinic again in our school. I went to the clinic and the nurse was shocked and she told me, she asked me why I allowed these worms to grow like this, because as they're like this, that it is difficult to treat them. So she called other clinics to ask if there was medication for these worms. But people of God, unfortunately, there was no medication. I went back helplessly. So me being in tertiary, by the grace of God, now I got a smartphone and I was close to the internet. So it means I continued to listen to the teachings of men of God through YouTube, the mass prayers, the healing testimonies, and hope was restored, people of God.
The spirit behind the tapeworms manifesting through her body. Look at what is happening. This prayer is underway. Jesus Christ is still on the scene, touching and changing lives. Down she goes. Down her predicament goes. The healer is Jesus Christ. Never a sickness he cannot heal, never a burden.
In Jesus Christ's name, you are free.
Freedom has come in the life of our sister.
Thank you, Jesus.
During the prayer line, as the man of God was praying, he was coming this side, from this side, and as the closer he comes to me, I shaked uncontrollably and couldn't control myself. And he prayed for me. After that, he instructed me to go and drink water and then go to the bathroom, of which I did. Get into the bathroom, there were some worms released. And I knew that it's not all of them, because they were still coming out continuously. And it seemed like the situation was now worse because they were coming out frequently. I remember after people were being prayed in the prayer line, they came to the podium to testify. But for me, I didn't come to testify because the worms were now coming out much more frequently than before. So I was just sitting there, and I went back home with this situation. And after the prayer, I felt light and relieved. And on the other hand, the worms were still coming out. So me going back home, I continued to listen to the prayers of the man of God, teachings. I prayed along with him through internet, in YouTube. So I remember there was this sermon. He was encouraging us not to let our situation to influence our confession, but rather our confession must be the one to influence our situation. So I kept confessing that I'm healed, even though the worms were still coming out. On the 15th of November, 2024, I received a call from 3G Ministries. I received a call. They asked me how I was doing after the prayer. So I told them the worms were still coming out. But me telling them this, I wasn't worried at all. There was no stress after prayer because I just felt the peace inside me, even though the worms were still coming out. After prayer, it didn't cross my mind to go back to the clinic. So during the call, they told me to go back to the clinic, of which I did the next day. That was the 16th of November. And upon getting there, remember, the nurse told me the medication was not there. She even called other clinics to ask for medication, but it was not available. This time after prayer, the right medication was available for me, people of God. So, people of God, I was given these 6 bottles of medication to take in 3 days, meaning I drink the whole bottle in the morning and in the evening. So, me taking the medication, I didn't just take it ordinarily. I prayed along with the man of God, listened to his sermons before I could take this medication, people of God. And then on the second day of the journey of taking this medication, that's when I realized a change. There were no worms until now. So, people of God, this is the document from the clinic. TCE Clinic, Minintonota College of Education. This is my name, Nameso Marake, 18 years, and intestinal worms since 10 years. And this picture shows the worms these are the worms. I didn't take it from the internet. These are the same worms that came out of me, people of God. So, people of God, this is the medication, albendazole, that I got from the clinic after the prayer, the right medication. I want to encourage you, people of God, to listen to the teaching of men of God and believe what he is saying, because that is what worked for me and sustained me. It helped me not to fall in faith, even though the worms were still coming out. I believed and I confessed that I was healed because of the teachings of the men of God. Also, to the viewers all over the world, I want to encourage them. It is not a joke. How the distance is not a barrier. I used to pray along with the men of God, listen to his teachings, and that is what also sustained me. Thank you, Jesus.